I had to make sure I wasn't dreaming when he said what he said. So, but I'm
here, of course, joined with Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick, what's going on, everybody, ladies and gentlemen? Here, this is I'm Tanner Dawson of the Sports Buffoons, Whiskey Sports Podcast, and of course, Let's Talk Sports. I'm joined by Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick, what's going on, dude?
What's up, man? It has been a while. 2 weeks we've been off, so the sports world has changed. We missed you yesterday on the Sunday show. Happy belated birthday. I shouted you out on yesterday's show. I don't know if you watched it. Both shows.
I watched a little bit of it, too.
And the morning show. I said happy birthday. So, doing my part as a good co-host and wishing my fellow host a great birthday. I didn't get you a gift. I'm sorry. So
it's all right. It's all right. I'm good, guys. I don't know if you guys have checked out. I just posted on my Whiskey Sports Podcast TikTok my new gift that my wife got me. It's called what is it? I forgot already what it's called. Bartendery or something like that. It's a self-made cocktail service. It's like Keurig on steroids. So you guys can check that out. I got an example on it. This thing, old fashioned. Yep, it's plenty strong. We're gonna have a good show today, so that's what I'm excited about. Guys, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow on all channels. Let's Talk Sports, Sports Buffoons, and the Bodkins Show and Whiskey Sports Podcast. Dan still has that contest going out there. If you're as long as you're subscribed to Whiskey Sports Podcast, the Bodkins Show, and Let's Talk Sports, chance to win $100. Let's see here. Let's Talk Sports T-shirt and mug. And then a jersey, your choice. So Dan still has it out there, guys. So make sure you guys do that. Take advantage of it. Leave a comment below for your chance to win. So, Nick, kind of crazy weekend going into play. Actually, a crazy few weeks since, I've had family in town, had to cancel a couple shows, just being busy as it is during the holiday season. But a lot's changed since we talked. We talked. And we'll get Jonathan on later. Last we talked, LSU had still had a chance to get into the playoff bracket. Last we talked, the Denver Broncos. Wait, no, they're still not scoring touchdowns. Never mind, that hasn't changed. So there's tons to talk about today. Here, let's bring in our Jim Behringer, as we do every Monday. Jim, what's going on, man?
What is up, boys? How we doing tonight?
Oh, we're good. We're wonderful. The Andy Dalton's actually playing versus Tampa. It's not good for my bets, but it's kind of nice to see a little challenge and a little scare for Tom Brady every week. So,
Jim,
what's up?
A tie, a freak. I'm been drinking, so a freaking tie. I'm not going to try to curse right now.
No
freaking
cursing.
tie.
No cursing.
Freaking tie.
No cursing.
What are we doing here? I mean, that was just honor of the World Cup, right? Like, that's what we're doing? Like, a tie yesterday to the Commanders?
Bro, I have no words to describe what I saw yesterday. I mean, that was horrendous. You can't tie that game in a must-win in the division. You're winless in the division still. You still lose, and you still tie, and it's like, you lost to Dallas twice. You got to get wins here. You're up in the fourth quarter. Give the ball away, and it's just like, why?
Look, so I had a big parlay going on, right? And I needed the noon session. All I needed was for Washington to actually win that game. Instead, I was starting rooting for the tie as soon as overtime came. I'm like, they're going to tie. Let's tie, baby. Get that void so I still have a chance. So they ended up voiding it. And then, because, the tie came in, and then I didn't bet on the Chiefs, but I bet Seattle that screwed the pooch. Chargers screwed the pooch. So they were two teams of that afternoon slate that really screwed me up. So it's quite entertaining to see that tie, though, I must say. Guys, we'll talk.
And the worst part is, we'll get to this later, they had a chance to win that game.
They did.
They did. Well, I thought Commanders were heavily winning that game there for a while, and the Giants kind of came back and won. Jim, are the Giants are they leveling out now? They were the great success story, kind of especially the first month of the season. are they leveling out, and are they going to be kind of who they thought they were? They still got a chance to make the playoffs, but a couple teams on the rise, and they're kind of, while they're on the descent, there's a couple teams like the Commanders that are on the ascending side.
Yeah, I think they're starting to level out a little bit. I think I think teams are getting the MO on how to beat them. Turning the ball over again, and we can break it down more later. But to me, just to sum it up, they got their work cut out for them. They got to win some division games here if they want to get into the playoffs. And it starts, you got to figure out a way to beat Philly twice, and you got to beat Washington when they come off the bye in Washington. And they got to get some healthy bodies back in that lineup to be successful.
They do. They really do go into play. All right. Before we talk more NFL, let's dig into a couple of other sports here going into play since we haven't seen Jim for a while.
That's true.
Let's just talk about these freaking college playoffs. What an emotional Friday and Saturday, and just the suspense that was killing everybody leading into Sunday. USC ended up being number 4, and they get beat by Utah. And beat by Utah, it was more like a bashing.
It was a beatdown.
It was
a
bad.
beatdown.
So, and then TCU ended up losing to K-State, but luckily for them, it was the championship game. USC lost, and it was a top 10 team they lost to. So I think that's kind of what saved them in all before to keep Alabama out of things. But I know you were posting on a couple of our groups that we're in on Facebook. But what's your, I guess, are you surprised at all? Anything by the seeding? Anything by the teams getting in?
I mean, I think as the week went on, I always thought that if TCU lost, there may be a chance. But then the more I thought about it, I think the fact that they played in a conference championship, played a tougher schedule, had better quality wins, there was no way if they lost the championship game that they were going to get knocked out of this thing. Because what did Alabama really do? Like, what was their quality win? Texas? If you look at what TCU did against Texas, they demolished them. So you're playing, common teams here now. I mean, there was a stretch where they played 4 top 10, top 25 teams in a row. Yes, they came back and won. But I think ultimately the fact they played in a championship game, lost in overtime. Look, I know Nick's going to do the rounds. And to be honest, look, I would be doing it too. But the thing to me is like, wait a minute, he's doing the rounds when we pretty much know Georgia and Michigan's going to win anyway, and Ohio State's already in this thing. I mean, it's just gave something people to talk about for 3 hours before these rankings came out on Sunday. But Alabama had no shot to get in this thing. They didn't. There are 2 losses, okay, to LSU, who's now 17, and Tennessee, which, by the way, in both games they were favorite and they lost late. Okay, that's great, but you lost it. You barely beat Texas with a backup quarterback. And look, are they one of the 4 best teams? I don't know, but to me, if the eye test, they haven't played like one. And the games I watched a lot of Alabama games. A lot of their victories they probably should have still lost. But I think they got the 4 right teams. Oh, I think Michigan's like, all right, Ohio State's back in this thing. I thought we took care of business. But to me, the 2 best teams right now are Michigan and Georgia, and I hope that's the matchup we get in the national championship game.
Jim, is Georgia winning this whole damn thing? I mean, they just look like an absolute wagon. I mean, you mentioned Michigan, but I think if they play Georgia and Michigan, Georgia's probably favored double digits. I'm not high on Michigan. I understand that they did. They're alone. You want to talk about Alabama? Yeah, they didn't have a signature win. Michigan's only signature win is against Ohio State. I mean,
they beat Penn State.
They beat Penn State too. So Penn State's
out of here. I mean, Penn State's nobody.
Look, I mean, to me, everybody argues, okay, when you play these teams, when they were ranked. But we also got to look at where they're ranked now. And the way Penn State finished, they're 8 in the country. They're going to the Rose Bowl to play Utah. And back to that Friday game, USC's dominating that game, by the way. 17-3 second quarter. Why do you go for it on 4th and 8? You can pin Utah back, make them drive the length of the field. You have your defense just got an interception, and you're going to go for it. I understand being aggressive and trying to end the game. If it's 4th and 2, I don't have a problem with it. it's 4th and 8. Like, what are you doing there? And Caleb's on an off-balance throw, and then that just gave Utah to just steamroll the rest of the way. And they never looked back, and good on Utah because they're a good team. But Michigan's got some nice wins. I think Georgia's the best team in the nation, and when they play good teams, they step up. And let's look at it. First game of the year was in Atlanta against Oregon. SEC title game was in Atlanta. The playoff game is in Atlanta. They've already scored 97 points in Atlanta this year. They have a de facto home game in the semifinal against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Michigan, all the talk has been from Michigan's side of things. They want Georgia. They want to avenge what happened last year. They're motivated, and they have the team to do it because they're a good second-half team. I just don't know if they're going to be too far behind to become that second-half team, because when Georgia wants to play football, you saw it against Tennessee and LSU. They are the best team in college football, hands down.
They're going to go down the field relentless. So that was the thing, right? Michigan, all season long, has been the underdog, essentially almost every game. Essentially, has been a team that, you know, I gave a lot of hard time to early in the season too, because of the cakewalk schedule they have before conference play. So the fact that they've come out, they beat Illinois, that a lot of people picked for them to get upset. They beat Ohio State handedly, which is what we kind of was needing to see, I think, out of this Michigan team. And then Purdue, who actually was what were they, like 4-0, 5-0 against top 25s going into that game. So that was still it's still going to be a challenge, or it should have been, but it wasn't. And I don't know, like maybe I kind of feel, I guess I don't want to say it that way. I want to try to think of like maybe Michigan isn't as lesser team as we're thinking, because they seem to step up in every situation that everybody kind of puts them down on.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, Purdue game could have been, coming off that emotional game against Ohio State where Devon Edwards goes off in the fourth quarter, the running game takes off. They did start slow against Purdue, like they did start slow against Iowa, but then the second half comes around. J.J. McCarthy's getting involved more in the running game, passing game. They're opening it up down the field. And I think that's an area where they may be able to take advantage if they get to a Georgia. And I think that's where they're going to take advantage of TCU. I think TCU is in the position Michigan was in last year, where you see Michigan was like, all right, we're good. We're happy to get there. We won. We did what we had to do. Let's see how TCU handles coming off a loss and going into a playoff game. You have time off. Max Duggan, he's up for the Heisman. Maybe if they win the game, maybe he gets the Heisman because of the Heisman moment that he had to carry his team there. But it's going to be interesting to see how they match up with TCU. But I'm favoring Michigan. I think Michigan and Georgia get to the national championship as much as I think Ohio State got exposed, especially defensively. Yeah. I just don't think they're going to be able to match up well with Georgia at all.
Well, we saw, so going back early mid-season when Penn State played Ohio State, right? We saw Ohio State get exposed there. They had to come back on a three score run to win the game. And that was a Penn State team that almost essentially beat Ohio State. It was the first ranked game Ohio State played since, what was it, like week 2 or something like that? I can't remember what it was. But we see Ohio State go into these ranked matchups and get almost should be beat twice, but almost get beat twice going into play. Like Ohio State, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not as confident as I was the last few years going into play, especially against Georgia. So that's all. I mean, that's all I'm going to leave it at that for Ohio State and Georgia, because I have a feeling we're about to, like, Michigan beat them down. What is Georgia going to do to them?
Look, yeah, that's what I think too. I think Georgia's beyond the best team in the 4. Like I think I literally think they're going to blow out any team that they play by 15, 14 or more. I am not high on any of these other 3 teams in this playoff, but Georgia looks absolutely like they're going to – and this is a team that replaced the whole defense. Like, that's how good they are.
Didn't we say this about Alabama last year after they beat Georgia in the title game going into play? Like, Alabama, they can't be beaten. And then Georgia comes back, plays them again, and beats them.
Look, there's a reason why there's never been a repeat winner, but in the history of this college football semifinal, outside of one game, every semifinal game's been a blowout. Like, so expect blowouts. Either way, come the semifinals. They've had one good game since this thing has started.
That's true.
I mean, I go back. It's not.
You're
I'm
not lying.
I'm not making up lies here. It's straight up fact. One out of the semifinal games since they've all been played, the rest of them have been blowouts. So, to me, look, Ohio State's not going to have, I believe, Njigma. He's not playing. He's already been ruled out of the game. He's draft eligible, the wide receiver. So that's already one guy down. We'll see who else decides to opt out and try to go for the NFL draft instead. But to me, I think Georgia has a complete team. They look good. And like I said, especially in Atlanta, at the home field, I think is going to help them, rule the day before, they have to go on the road and go to Los Angeles for the national championship game. And I think maybe Georgia is the first team that we see actually repeat this thing. Like in the history of the college football playoff, we've had repeat national champions before, but not in this format.
Not in the playoffs,
right?
Since that started. Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm with you there. Not even Bama has done it, and Georgia might go on and do that. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jim, I just want to ask you real quick. Do you think like the committee put Alabama just at 6 just to get people talking? Because I'm kind of with you. Like they didn't play nobody, and they had 2 losses. I mean, TCU would have had to get like blown out by K-State to me. To even to make Alabama in that discussion. Do you think the committee is like, hey, we just want people to talk if these things X, Y, and Z happen, but for the most part, we believe that TCU is going to get in over Alabama, or they just do it because it's Alabama and they're living off the last 20 years?
I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. I also think if Hayden Hooker doesn't get hurt, I think Tennessee's at 6 because they beat Alabama on a field goal, and the committee has stated head-to-head wins matter. So the only reason Alabama's 6 and are now 5, and was 6, but the only reason they're ahead of Tennessee is because the injury to the quarterback, and I think it was just talk too. Nobody really expected them to get there. I mean, to me, you could make the argument that a couple of conference champions should be ranked higher than Alabama. Like in the final rankings, like if you think about it, like Utah or Clemson actually should be ranked higher than those 2 SEC teams in front of them because they won conference championships and they actually look good down the stretch doing it.
Yeah, that's fair.
What's your guys' thoughts on the extension? Like, I mean, now it looks like we're going to go to 12. I mean, now really at 12,
no, it's 12.
No, it's 12. It's 12, and I mean, really, we wouldn't even be having any of these conversations, right? If once to 12, I was a proponent of 8. I always liked 8 because you could do all 5. You win your conference, you're in the Power 5, and then you have 3 at bids, right? Like, that's where Ohio State, even some of these smaller schools that we've seen throughout the year, Cincinnati last year, could have got in. You know what I mean? Like, so what's your guys' thoughts there on the going to 12 now? I like 8. I think 12's too many. 8 is the perfect number. It'll be interesting to see what happens with 8.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a matter of time. I think everything got cleared because of the Rose Bowl. That was a big holdup. New Year's Day, New Year's 6 games. Obviously, this year the New Year's 6 bowls will not happen on New Year's Day because of the NFL. Though I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, I think they might actually had a good case to get more people to watch those games than NFL games that day because it is a college football day. But obviously, everything's on January 2nd this year. But you know what? The only issue I have with the 12-team playoff is the conference champions that are not the top 4 seeds have to go on the road.
Correct.
Like if they're not higher ranked, they have to go on the road. Then what's the incentive to win the conference championship from there? Like, for instance, Kansas State and Tulane have to go on the road if we had it this year when – realistically, shouldn't those 2 teams be hosting games since they won conference championships? That's my only thing. Again, it's nitpicking, but I mean, it's never going to be perfect. There's never going to be a perfect system. Though I will say if we had the BCS this year, it would be Michigan and Georgia would have been the top 2 teams anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. And there would have been no arguments from anybody. But, if we had it this year, Utah, Clemson would get buys because they would probably have been higher ranked and they would have won. It's just a whole, again, like say if Purdue won, does Purdue really deserve to be in the playoff 4
That's
losses?
true. Hey, but I mean, if they won,
I know that's the thing. Like you win a conference championship, you get an automatic bid, but it's like, do we really? Is it?
That's going to like basketball tournaments now, right?
Yeah,
so that's what we're looking at now. If you win your conference, you're in.
But it gives those teams hope, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, if what's Purdue playing for on Saturday? I mean,
I'll tell you.
You know what I mean? They weren't going to get in the playoff, I guess, just to spoil Michigan, right? Like,
that's all
that
it
would have been it. And I think they would have. No, I don't even know if they might have gone to the Rose Bowl if they won. But Penn State was so much ranked higher that I think they got the right matchup.
I think so. Yeah, I think going to play. Look, this whole 12 team. I love the numbers, so I talked about doing like get rid of the playoffs and overall. And let's just go what basketball's doing, go to a money generator and make it 32 teams, get rid of your conference champions, get rid of a game beginning of the season, and let's get some Cinderella upsets going. That's what my initial thought was. But you'd have to get rid of all the bowl games. You'd have to get rid of all your conference championships. So basically, at the end of the season, the team who won is the team who won the conference.
Yeah, pretty much. And like the thing to me is you're going to have to watch out because, watch out for the injuries now and going into this because the big thing to me is with the extra game now, you're playing first round quarterfinals. Say a game goes into overtime, you're losing a couple guys. That team may not have those players for the next game. And we don't know when those games will be played. There may be a couple weeks off. Who knows when those quarterfinal games are going to happen. But still now, teams may be at a disadvantage. You're not as healthy, and you got to wonder, about the injuries. I go back to the old, I believe, Penn State, Florida State, when Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno were still playing. It was like overtime fest. Guys were dropping left and right, and I go to my friend, imagine if they had a playoff right now and they had to play next week. Nobody would be able to field the team. So, that's just the big thing. But, look, it's money generator. We knew it was coming. It was bound to come anyway. Now the Rose Bowl just got it out of the way, so we can have this in 2024 season instead of 2026, and they'll go from there. Maybe make adjustments after, because I guarantee you those teams that have buys are going to be like, "Hey, wait a minute, those guys are having extra home games. We want the home games now too."
Right? Yeah, I like that. Hey, I want to run by some of these top 10 bowl games with you. Yeah. Just kind of get your initial thoughts here on it. The first one, of course, that stands out to me is number 5 Bama versus number 9 K-State, Big 12 title, who's really turned it up in the last 5 weeks, especially.
You mean the only football team in Kansas that's winning?
Hey, we're in a bowl game. Missouri denied us, by the way. The Tigers, they decided not to play the Liberty Bowl with us, so we had to play Arkansas now. So, that don't hate on KU. That's a huge improvement. I didn't expect any of this year, so I love what we got. So what's your thoughts on this Bama K-State? Do you think K-State has a chance to take down Bama?
Depends on who plays for Alabama. Really?
Oh, I guess I didn't think about that since they're not in the playoff.
Right.
Some guys might make business decisions.
I mean, last time this happened, Alabama had all their guys come and play the bowl game, and that led to the national championship the next year. We'll see, Bryce Young's been hampered by that shoulder. Will Anderson Jr. Let's see. Maybe those guys are going to want to make a statement at the end of the year and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should have been in this thing. If Alabama shows up like the Alabama that can show up, K-State's going to be in trouble. But look out, because Deuce Vaughn can run the football for such a small guy. He's going to be an impact player down the road. I like what K-State's doing. Definitely a tough matchup for them in the Sugar Bowl, but Nick Saban really hasn't had too much success in New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl, so K-State has a chance.
To me, it seems like these are the bowl games that Alabama loses. Is like when they're not playing in the playoffs. It's like Nick Saban's not really. I think he's out recruiting more than he is out preparing the game. They're going to try to win off talent alone more than strategic, because I've seen, like, that's just the way it goes. It's like, and then it's like, oh, Saban lost this bowl game and he doesn't care because he's on to the next, trying to get the next 5-star recruit to come back to Alabama. That's how I feel. And I think you'll see a lot of these guys, especially if they're not playing in the playoffs, if they're going to get ready to go to the NFL, they're going to sit out this bowl game. A lot of players in all teams.
Oh, we've already seen a couple opt-outs already. Guys are already saying they're not going to play because of NFL draft, eligibility. I know DJ Uiagalelei has entered the transfer portal from Clemson. So
after getting benched.
Yeah, exactly. And he lost his job because he isn't that good. He had a couple of good games when Trevor Lawrence was out, but everybody got the book on him. And he really hasn't adjusted too much. And he's not a Sunday player. So, and I think a lot of scouts would agree with that right now. It's just his arm and, his just ability to read the game is just not there, especially now he's getting benched. But, yeah, I mean, it all depends on who's going to play. I mean, to me, I'm looking forward to the Rose Bowl. I've always been a fan of the Rose Bowl. I always wish they would go back. The NFL would go back and play at the Rose Bowl for the Super Bowl. I just love, the setting. Pasadena, it's just a great – Utah and Penn State should be a great game. Two good teams. And, I'm just looking forward to that game to me. I mean, outside the semifinals, I think the Rose Bowl game's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we actually got a lot of great matchups here for this bowl season, at least within the top 11. I'm kind of more curious for me. Because I know a lot of Clemson fans, so I'm curious about, Tennessee.
That should be a good game.
Back. That Tennessee Clemson bowl game is going to be, I think, a fun one to watch.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that'll be a good one. And, again, what Clemson team shows up, I mean, obviously North Carolina doesn't really have a defense. Right. So Clemson was going to win that game going away. But, let's see what Tennessee does. They have their backup quarterback in there now. He's got time to prepare for Clemson. It's not like he had to come back. They won after, the loss to South Carolina. But still, no Hayden Hook. So it's going to be a tough challenge because Clemson's a good team.
Yeah, and we'll talk more NCAA here probably next week as we start entering bowl season beginning. I'm so excited for it. I love bowl season.
Yeah, bowl season.
A lot of gambling, baby. A lot of gambling.
Yeah. A lot of gambling. A lot of games. To me, at one point, it's like it's too many games. But, hey, you know what? Some of the games are actually pretty good. But some of the other games are they're all right. They're not the greatest.
Not the greatest, but
no. But I forget who is Oregon, North Carolina should be a decent game. Texas Tech, Ole Miss should be pretty good. Who does Notre Dame, South Carolina, Gator Bowl? I'm interested for that one. The way South Carolina finished the season with those two big victories, can they carry it over into the bowl game? Let's see. This is where Notre Dame's head coach took over last year in bowl season. They had a good outing. They just lost in the end, which set the tone for this year. So I think that'll be a good game to watch.
I agree. So let's switch sports here. Let's go to the NHL here.
All right.
So there was actually one game tonight I did have money on. It looks like I came out all right. It was the Vegas Golden Knights and Boston Bruins. Vegas was up 3-0 when I saw last. I think it was the second period. And Boston came back. Is Boston – I mean, Boston was already the favorite going into tonight. Is Boston truly this good?
I mean, to me, Boston's been a surprise to the season, to be honest. Like, the way they started, I mean, 14-1, they lost in a shootout, so I don't know how they're going to handle it. They're still unbeaten in regulation on home ice this season, but they have a loss in overtime. So their 14-game winning streak to open the season on home ice is over tonight at the hands of Bruce Cassidy and the Vegas Golden Knights. But the way they started, the fact no Marchand, no McAvoy, Grizzly, those guys were supposed to be coming back now, not 3 weeks ago. And they added to just a team that just started on fire with David Krejci and Pasternak and Bergeron, all these guys coming back. Olmark's, was playing good before he got injured. Jeremy Swayman's taking over the reins. Good for Jim Montgomery to get these guys playing a different way, and just it's the big bad Bruins, and they're playing with skill. They're playing fast. Defensively, they're responsible. And the theme of the NHL this year is no lead is safe. It doesn't matter.
It's
2
not.
goals,
It's so true.
1 goal,
So
3
true.
goals, 4. Like yesterday, Minnesota's up 5-1. Dallas scores 4 goals in the third period. The defense right now, goal scoring is up. There's no defense right now, and you got to protect the lead when you have it, because goals can come like that, as we saw tonight in that Boston game. I thought the way Vegas was playing, they were playing great defensively, lock it down. They really didn't get Boston much, and then boom, 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 all of a sudden, they get opened up, and then there's a couple of goals, and the Bruins strike. But to me, Bruins right now are one of the favorites to win a Stanley Cup the way they've been playing.
Gotcha. Italy Jet, what's going on, dude? Thanks for commenting in. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I don't really have any hockey questions. I was looking at some stuff, and all the hockey questions I had was like on the 2 weeks that we were off, and then because I was like, oh, I need to ask Jim this question, and now I don't remember what they were. And now I was like looking at some of the news to kind of ask, and there wasn't any good questions in there on the headlines, but there was the last 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Jim on that on Monday. And now we hadn't. This is the first time we've been back. Jim, I want to say there does seem like a lot of injuries. It looks like the Wings got Bertuzzi's out for the Wings. Tampa Bay's got some injuries. The Avs got some injuries. Is this just hockey season? That's just what happens? And has there been an injury that's going to detriment the team going forward that we need to keep an eye on?
Well, tonight during the Flyers-Colorado game, Nathan McKinnon left the game with an upper body injury, so that's something to keep an eye on. Let's see how long he's going to be out. The Avs have been dealing with some injuries this year. To begin the season, no Landeskog, so that's really been hurting. That's why they're not playing up to their potential. Obviously, the Stanley Cup hangover, but that's keep an eye on. Chris Letang, obviously, with the stroke that he had last week, his second one, his first one coming in 2014. So let's see what the Penguins do defensively. They believe he's going to come back, and that's the most important thing. Hopefully, all the health to him. He actually skated today lightly. So, I don't think they're going to try to make a move defensively, but that's something to keep an eye on. Bertuzzi's a tough loss because the Wings have been playing well, especially with Dylan Larkin. And, Detroit's one of those teams you got to watch in the Atlantic right now, because last year they barely were holding on, and then the Bruins passed them. They believe they're ready to take the next step and keep that position this year, but it's going to be tough with guys like Florida. That's a team right there. Radko Gudas and Patrick Horkowitz went on LTIR today. And Florida really hasn't found their groove yet. So those are 2 major losses for a team that's trying to battle and get back to in a position where they expect to be, which is in the playoff race.
Yeah, Detroit with a 1-point differential, but winning records on the road and at home. And like you said too, I mean, I bet on a lot of hockey lately, and yeah, Detroit's one of those teams that's I feel like a team that shouldn't be favored in some games, so sometimes you take that plus on them, and they end up pulling through. So they play a lot of tough, nitty games too. There's a lot of one-score games with that team that I've seen this year. Let's see here. So I was going to ask you here, Vegas and Dallas are kind of battling for that top spot in the West. I don't know, is it, do you know if Dallas is going to surpass Vegas? Do we feel like Vegas is kind of now, they started so hot, are they going to start maybe evening out a little bit?
I think so. I think Vegas, obviously you have the Eichel injury. He didn't play tonight. And we'll see how has the hand injury, so we'll see how long he'll be out. I think this is a game he definitely wanted to play in, though, in regards to that, because being from that area, it would have been good. I don't know. To me, Dallas has been a surprise. Jason Robertson's 18-game point streak, 23 goals to begin the year. He's on fire, on pace for 50 plus this year. And look, I don't think anybody expected it, but it is the first year of Pete DeBoer, and he usually does well in his first seasons with the team. However, they're going to come back to earth, and they haven't been really dominating. They've just been taking advantage of a schedule that's been favorable and a division that's been pretty down. Now Nashville's making a charge. Minnesota's making a charge.
Yes, Minnesota.
Winnipeg's there. So they may not stay at the top of that division, but they're still going to stick around. I think the class of the West is Vegas, and I think they'll be able to get that top spot in the West. But there's teams that are going to be charging, and they're going to start to get their act in business because they have to, i.e. teams like Calgary and Edmonton, who expect, and many people expected to be in the playoffs in the Pacific Division. But as we know, every year there's a surprise team, and right now that surprise team is Seattle in the Pacific, sitting in second.
Jim, what's going on with the Blues here in St. Louis? Because, I mean, they're kind of towards the bottom of the barrel, and this was a team that, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, won the whole thing. Like, what are they doing? Is it just still early? Like, should we still have faith in the Blues, or like, hey, they're going to be they're not who they were a couple of years ago?
Yeah, this is tricky because this team is so up and down, and they play on so many streaks. It's crazy. Like they begin the season pretty decently, then they go on a record losing streak, then they go on a record winning streak because the moms are around. I think they should have just kept the hockey moms around because they were winning. And Ryan O'Reilly's mom was great on TV. So I mean, they should have just kept her around. But they're a bad second period team. Goaltending has come back to earth. Binnington and his antics, trying to knock guys over. His coach wants him to stop, just focus on the puck. But again, the injuries on defense, Scandella's hurt. Guys that they expect to take the next step haven't done so yet. Kyrou and Robert Thomas. Ryan O'Reilly even knows he needs to play better. So that's, a thing to watch for the St. Louis Blues going forward, because time is running out as Nashville and Minnesota start to play better. And Colorado's always there, and Winnipeg and Dallas. Like, the gap for them is going to be so big. I know everybody's going to point to what they did in 2019. That is the exception and not the rule. Most of the time, you have that far of a point differential, you are not getting in the playoff. They got hot, everything clicked, and it was their year. It doesn't happen that often, if ever.
I was like, there's no way at a minus 23 right now. I mean, Calgary's at a -1, but they can't win on the road right now.
Yeah,
they're struggling big time there.
But they have a nice opponent tonight in Arizona. Hopefully that's a win there for them if they can hold on to the 2-0 lead. They could start building some momentum. That'd be 3 wins in a row for them. So they're starting to build some momentum there. New Jersey's starting to come back to earth a little bit. Top team in the Metro, playing well. They've been able to bounce back, their bounce back ability, but they're finding different ways to win games. Sometimes it's ugly, really ugly, like it was against Philly, because Philly played a really good game, and they hung on. Or they can dominate teams. But again, little mistakes. You're not going to play perfect hockey every night. You can't do it. It's impossible over 82 games to play a perfect 60 minutes every night. But when things don't go right, you make the little adjustments, and you can find a way to win a hockey game. And that's what the Rangers did tonight. You don't want to say it was must win for New York, but it's getting close because they have to start figuring it out. The Rangers do, in regards to what Toronto had to do early on in the season. Oh, the sky is falling. A panic, fire everybody, trade this guy, that guy, this guy,
sell him.
Stay calm. The guys in the room know what they need to do. There's a nice win for New York tonight. They had the lead. They were down. They came back. Relied on the young kids. Shesterkin made some stays. Maybe they could start turning it around. Again, it's still a little early, but if the teams that they expect to be there, they'll figure it out like New York did tonight.
All right, let's talk about your team, New Jersey. Second best differential all in hockey right now.
Yeah.
How we feeling, man? How you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. It's good to be a Devils fan. It's fun to be a Devils fan again after all that, losing and only 2 playoff appearances. after a nice long stretch. But again, this team's been together for a while. Guys are maturing. Nico Hischier, a leader on the team. Jack Hughes is taking his game to the next level as well. Goaltending. Look, everybody's like, oh, Vitek Vanacek, why are you trading for this guy? Well, if you dive into his stats, he had 2 20-win seasons with Washington. His numbers, goals against wise, and save percentage were around league average. Now he's playing above that. He's taking advantage of the fact that Blackwood's hurt, and he's taking over the starter's role, and he's given this team timely saves, big saves. The Devils' power play's clicking. Everybody understands what their role is, and they're playing it to perfection. And they're buying in, and they're getting goals, and they're playing hard-nosed hockey, but their speed and transition game is taking not teams by surprise anymore, but that's what their MO has to be, play fast attacking style hockey. And sometimes, it'll work. Other times you have to grind it out, and that's what they did, but they're finding different ways to win. And they're off to a better start than a lot of people expected. A lot of people expected no playoff. 13-game winning streak helps, but banking points against bad teams also help. And that's what New Jersey's done, and that's what Boston has done as well. But it's good. New Jersey's playing well. John Marino, great on defense. And, they're just executing the game plan to perfection.
Yeah, I'm like, they went on that huge win streak, too, right after the first week of the season, and they've been on fire since.
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
much.
Pretty much. I mean, outside of that, if you talk to Devils fans, they're like, oh, they really should still be going. The Toronto game, it's like, look, it was bound to happen. But the fact that they're able to lose, they lost, but they were able to bounce back and win 3 in a row and then win and lose. So that's okay. You're just not turning a 13-game winning streak into a 5 or 6 game losing streak. And that after that loss, that could have happened. But they rallied around it and won some games. So that at the different mindset, the championship mindset this year is what's big for the Devils.
I agree. Any final questions, Nick?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay. So, Jim, before you leave, because I know you got to get out of here shortly, let's talk Giants here. I want to kind of get your thoughts here, how you're feeling, how things are going for you. Do you feel good about the Giants' playoff hopes? Because with that tie going into play, I'm here. I'm trying to pull my notes up. There they are. So the Giants are still in contention for the wild card. Seattle's there. It kind of kicked Washington out. But I think when I was going through my Wednesday show, the Giants actually had the unfavorable schedule going in the last, 5 weeks or so versus Washington, who had a pretty favorable schedule. I mean, are we just kind of going to hope, cross our fingers and kind of hope for stuff? Or what are we thinking here?
They gotta win. They gotta win football games.
Yes,
they really do. I mean, not for nothing, but that they should have beat Washington Sunday. You're up 20-13, fourth quarter. Can't turn the ball over. Can't make mistakes. Can't go 3 and out and give the ball right back to them. If the receiver can get another 5 yards, probably Gano hits it, and then you've beat Washington, a divisional rival. Because the problem is it was Washington, Eagles, Washington.
Yeah, the Giants' next games, you got the Eagles, then you got the Commanders again, then you got the Vikings, you got the Colts, and then the Eagles again. Like, that's
a murderer's row of.
Here's on top of this, too. Washington has a bye this week, so they go Giants, bye week, get rested, healthy,
and then get the Giants again.
And they go back to the Giants, or get back with the Giants at home, I believe.
And that's a Sunday night game now.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
It is. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year?
Well, I was saying this to somebody. I said, when was the last time the Giants and Washington played meaningful games in December?
Yeah.
Against each other.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
This long into it. So it's I know Washington has sooner than New York has lately. So
yeah, look, are there look, we're gonna most likely count the Giants out against the Eagles in both of those games, but there's a realistic possibility they can split that. If you can beat Washington and the Colts, all right, now you're.
If you can. You figure you split. You're 7-4-1 right now.
Right.
If it's a big if, because right now the Eagles look like one of the best team in the league. If not, I'll say they look like the best team in the NFC to me. Right. The Eagles do right now. And then the Commanders you just tied with, so who knows what happens there. I don't think you're going to beat the Vikings, but the Vikings play with everybody, but somehow find ways to win. Should be able to beat the Colts, but if you split that, you're looking at 9 and 6-1, 9-6-1, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
If
you could beat the Commanders, though, that would be huge.
So yeah, I think that
then you're 10-6-1.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're 10-6-1. You have at least you have a couple of divisional wins. I mean, it's not going to be easy. There's definitely going to be a game in there where we expect them to lose that they'll win.
There might be a game that they lose that they're supposed to win, a la against the Giants or the Lions a couple weeks ago.
Exactly, but we talked about that on the game day show that it was.
We did,
That it was going to be tougher than a lot of people thought because the way Detroit was playing. So
100%.
I didn't think Detroit's game was a gimme to me. I just don't. Like the Colts. I think you can. I can be confident right now and say that Colts is definitely a win.
I said that too, but look what happened.
Exactly. Right, exactly.
It's a different Colts team than that team.
Yeah, but still, again, it all depends on what they do. They have to get wide receiver help. They got to catch the football. Daniel Jones can't turn the football over, and he can't be the guy that leads the rushing attack all the time. They need help. They got to get healthy, and we'll see what happens down the road.
I think if you look at it too, the favorable part is Seattle, who's in that final spot right now, has a very unfavorable schedule as well. And Carolina, who knows what Carolina team shows up this week.
Exactly.
San Francisco, Kansas City, and the Jets. All three of those games are going to be really tough for Seattle. And then you got the Rams to finish, which who knows? Like they already lost to the Rams this week, so why not throw? That this Seattle team could be falling apart before we know it. That leaves the door open for that final spot to be possibly a Giants or Commanders, or maybe a Giants and Commanders both get in kind of thing. So
who knows?
That's the thing. And Detroit, like we talk about Detroit this year not being the team that just lays back and takes it anymore. They seem to be really into games, really scoring. They got Minnesota, the Jets, two tough teams there. Carolina, pending which team shows up. Chicago, I think we can count that pretty much as a win. And then Green Bay, which who the hell knows over there? So what's going on? So Detroit even has a pretty favorable schedule as well. So I think it's going to come down to those final 2 weeks of really what is needed. I think that final week we're going to see really who gets that final spot.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. At least we have some action here.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Giants get it done, but not too optimistic right now.
All right, Jim. You know what? We'll let you go. I know it's late there, so appreciate you coming in, talking a bunch of sports with us. So we'll catch you up next time. So.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me in. Always a pleasure doing this. You guys have a great night.
Nice to see you, Jim.
Thank you.
Peace out, guys.
See you, man. Jim Behringer, guys, going to play. Jonathan should be on here shortly. He was finishing practice at 9, so.
The Bucks absolutely stink, huh?
Oh, my gosh. They're going to give Andy Dalton a win on primetime.
They stink. And the Falcons, who lost yesterday, continued to be in the playoff chase because the Bucks absolutely stink. Can somebody win that division?
Nobody wants it. I think Carolina's the only one that kind of wants it, but they don't want it either. So
they want it, but they're just not good enough, right? Like that's the thing.
We're almost there. Nope, never mind.
Like Tampa Bay's like, we don't want to win the division. Atlanta, it's like they're not good enough to really win it either.
They don't have the talent either. They can't.
Carolina, same thing. Baker,
like, we'll run the ball, but we ain't passing. Yeah, Baker's gone with that release today. We'll see if he lines up anywhere.
With the possibly 49ers, right? That's what makes sense. That's the only
makes sense, but the Rams wouldn't be a shocker either. So
yeah, but the 49ers they can't be serious going with Brock Purdy the rest of the way.
You know what?
Right? Like that can't be. That's not a real thing.
Mr. Irrelevant here, going to the playoffs, man.
You watched him. I know you had to watch him at Iowa State. Like you're a big guy. He's not that good.
No, he's not that great, but I think he can deal with that talent they got around him. I mean, you put a talent around a guy that, hey, you know what? Just don't turn the ball over. And he goes out and plays this kind of ball. Let it be. I'd say. Why would you bring Baker in, who's been unproven to lead any team?
He led the Browns a couple years ago to the playoffs. I got to ask
who did he get beat by? Who get it beat by? Chad Henne for Henne time.
That wasn't really him. That was the defense. Speaking of Chad Henne and the Chiefs, hey, how about the Bodkins Bengals yesterday?
Why?
0-3. 0-3 in the last year. They can't beat Joey Burrow, baby. Joey Cool.
Why is it the Bengals? I think we struggle with the Bengals overall as a team. I don't think we've beat them in like the last decade. I don't get it.
Now they got a team you got to worry about, right?
Well, yeah, now they're a team. I mean, Jamar Chase came back. Chase is just a stupid talent, by the way.
Is. Joey Burrow, though, I mean,
what injury did he have? Because obviously it wasn't anything below his waist or above his waist. So what did he have?
That throw that Joey Burrow made, I think it was to Higgins, right, to win the game, to like seal it. That was just an absolute dart of a throw and catch to win that game yesterday. What's your thoughts there? Me and Craig were talking about it on my show last night. I said it's kind of cool. We're kind of getting this reincarnation of like a Brady, maybe a Rivers, Manning type stuff. You know, these three guys with Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes. I said, wouldn't it be kind of cool? Like Burrow can always beat Mahomes. Mahomes can always beat Allen. And what if Allen can always beat Burrow? It would just always kind of be like that matchup that would be incredible kind of going forward for these next 10 plus years, hopefully.
Well, that's the thing too. And now you got Deshaun back with the Browns. That's a guy that we once put in that same conversation with the Mahomes and now a Burrow. So if we can get like 4+ guys in this situation, I think we're looking at the AFC being one of the spectacular conferences, but also a dominant conference over the NFC for 10+ years. I mean, it doesn't matter who goes there. I think in the end, I think if Joey B goes there, Herbert goes there, Mahomes, of course, and Deshaun. If Deshaun comes back, obviously it's only one game. We got time to tell. We got to wait to see. But if Deshaun comes back to his self that he was with the Texans, like those 4 quarterbacks, nobody's touching them. Josh Allen. Let's be 5. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm considering just Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow.
It'd be so tough for I guess going forward for rookie quarterbacks, like even a guy like Malik Willis having to step in for Tannehill. That might be tough for him to be a competitive quarterback because he might get discouraged quickly when he can't beat none of those 5 going into play. Granted, variable, I think he's got the right coach for it for Willis, but gosh, man, that talent, like you say, those quarterbacks, that's like saying the NOC, the last 10 years, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson.
Well, I mean, Tom was in the AFC most of the, it was like a Tom, Ben Roethlisberger, Manning, right? Like that's like,
yeah.
Even, and then Phillip Rivers was right there as well.
Rivers was right there the whole time. Then you added in, the Andrew Lucks and
Luck was short, brief, but like the longevity of Roethlisberger, Manning, Brady and Rivers, like that's what Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow can be. Like that's the next generation. Like we're witnessing it now.
And I'm wondering too, like what if we're entering an era, like as the game progresses, training progresses, film, whatever, like the focus progresses, that all of a sudden we're entering an era where we could have up to 10 to 15 quarterbacks out of these 32 teams be competitive playoff potential quarterbacks. We could have a good group of quarterbacks coming in after next year's draft too. That'd be like, wait a minute. We're only used to 5.
I still think that's the level we're at. Where's your 10? And we can bring in Jonathan
coming into play as we go. So let's bring in Jonathan Grishman, guys. Jonathan, dude, what's going on?
How's it going, fellas?
We're good.
Jonathan, the Saints are winning.
The Saints are winning.
Hey, now you can jump back on the Saints bandwagon because Louisiana was LSU football until the last few weeks there. We haven't been able to talk since that beat down South Carolina gave them.
Hey, we had Tulane conference champions for the American.
Yeah.
Hey, respect the Green Wave, man. Come on now. Hey, I've never been off the bandwagon. I'm a realist with the Saints, but I've never been off the bandwagon. I still cheer them. I just got off the practice field and I go into the office where one of the guys is watching Monday Night Football. I look at the score and I'm like, oh, we're winning. What's going on? So I was shocked. I'm shocked by what's going on. And it's a typical NFC South of 2022. That's how I view it.
That's all it is. One team should win it, doesn't win it, and the other team, I don't know. I don't know how it goes. It's just so confusing. We were just talking about the NFC South of like who wants it because Carolina, I feel like shows they want it, but like Nick said, they're not good enough. And then Atlanta could want it, but they're not good enough. The Saints and
Tampa Bay's the only team that's supposed to really win it. Yeah, and they don't want to win it. Like they suck. They absolutely suck. I mean, they can't score 20 points. I looked up their schedule and their scores. The Tampa Bay scored like 21 times, and that was against the Chiefs.
So I talked about this earlier today. The future of the NFC South is really in question for all four teams because you have the head coaching search that's going on in Carolina. You have a quarterback search potentially in Atlanta. You have a quarterback search and potential head coaching search in the future for the Saints. And you have a quarterback search potentially in Tampa Bay with whatever Tom Brady's going to do, whether retire, go back to New England or whatnot. Like the future of the NFC South, my goodness, it's looking very bleak of what could be in 2023 and even 2024 at some point. I mean, this season is a true cataclysmic system of where we're looking at for the future of that division. It's not going to look good for a while, I don't think.
No, not at all. I wouldn't be surprised right now because literally every NFC South team is still contending. If if Carolina or New Orleans end up sneaking into the playoff spot just because of how bad Tampa, Atlanta, like how bad it is right now for these teams that can't seem to finish at all any games.
Before we got to stop the positive football talk, and we got to talk. I mean, we got to talk baseball.
You've been itching about this, Nick?
Yes, I have. I mean, so much has happened in this hot stove. I mean, DeGrom to the Rangers, Trey Turner to the Phillies, Verlander to the Mets. I mean, Aaron Judge is reportedly getting $600 million from everything I'm reading. Like, what move has surprised you so far? And what move do you think was the best move so far?
Well, remember I told you I thought DeGrom was going to go to Texas. That was a team that a lot of people couldn't think, and because I knew they had the money. They want pitching. They're trying to get pitching in Texas since they got the new stadium. That's their selling point. The new stadium has a roof. Pitchers don't have to die anymore in the summer of Texas. So, I thought that was the right move for DeGrom.
And he's from there, right? He's from there.
No, he's from Florida.
Oh, okay, I thought he's from Texas.
Because that was the selling point that the Braves had. They usually with guys who are from Florida, they say, "Hey, you live close to home in Atlanta." So, but that's why I thought the Braves were in contention at least for DeGrom. But Texas had the money; they have the money to spend, and they've been waiting to spend on an arm, and at least a pitcher who wants to come to Texas. Like I said, that stadium is a selling point. And that's what they were waiting to be able to do. So that was not really a surprise. Was DeGrom to go to Texas? The move, Trey Turner to Philadelphia is a moment right now. I feel like that's the big surprise, especially the money that he got. 11 years for $300 million. That's an overpay. I mean, I think Trey Turner is a really good, an elite shortstop. I mean,
he's teaming up with his buddy Bryce again. Now that him and Bryce are back together.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like that's. You paid him the same that you're paying Manny Machado. I know Fernando Tatis got close to that money. If I think he got $300 million as well, which I thought that was an overpay too. But Manny Machado, he's a elite defensive third baseman. He's an elite hitter. That's worth it. Trey, he's an elite offensive player as a shortstop, and that's something that you don't see much in today's game is elite shortstop offensively. But defensively, he's been up and down in his career the last couple of years. So is it worth paying $300 million for 11 years for a player like that? I don't know. I thought the money was a little bit rich, and I mean, kudos to Trey Turner's agent for getting that deal for him. I wasn't expecting Turner to get $300 million. I ballparked him around 200.
Yeah, Turner's getting 300 million. Judge is getting 500, 600 million, right? Like, I mean, that's just what that comes down to. Like,
well, so did you see the latest report on Judge? Or supposedly, I guess it's all speculation. The one post I saw today was the Orioles offering him a 20-year deal for like $400 million, and I'm like, this no way. This is
Bobby Bonilla type thing. Bobby Bonilla.
No way they do this kind of crap to a 30-year-old Judge.
No, that wasn't. I don't think that was a real. I think I saw the same thing. I don't think it was a real.
I didn't look too closely. I was just like, no way. No.
Yeah, you're not paying. Well, 20 years. That you're paying until he's 50 to play.
I mean, the Mets are still playing Bobby Bonilla.
No. So me and my buddy Bruce, we were like, here's the deal: is they're gonna let him play till he stops. So like 12 years in. And then after that, he's been getting part of the coaching staff.
So the deferred money. So Bonilla's getting paid. I think he's got another like 4 years or 5 years left to get paid. So deferred money in that case for Judge, he's getting paid when he's 85 years old.
Hey, good for him, right? Hey, good for him. Good for him.
I mean,
the Cubs, Jonathan, the Cubs have been linked to your guy Dansby Swanson. Like they're in on him. I think they're in on every shortstop allegedly, from what I've been reading. They met with Carlos Correa. They're in on Dansby Swanson. Like, you know, any of those guys coming to Chicago, do you think? I know obviously you hope Dansby probably returns to Atlanta. From what I've read, also Xander Bogaerts, like John Lester is out there recruiting Xander Bogaerts to come to Chicago, like still Cub for life, like, you know, talking about how great Chicago can be. The Cubs are going to get one of these guys, right? Don't lie to me, or just lie to me and make me feel good because the Packers suck and I need some help.
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I don't think Dansby is going to Chicago, and I say that with a half-hearted answer to say that I hope he does return to Atlanta. I love Dansby, that he's from Atlanta. Here's the kicker for Chicago and why Chicago's in the running. His fiance plays for the Chicago soccer team. You know, she plays professionally in Chicago. So that's where the Chicago link for Dansby is that his fiance is playing professional soccer in Chicago. So, I mean, how much influence we've seen in professional sports. We've seen, that the influence of the fiance or the wife does play a factor.
Sports, that's life. That's life. How many times we see that in real life?
I mean, but at the same time, though. At the same time, we have seen your own legacy does matter. We saw that with Tom Brady, and unfortunately, what happened to him and his relationship with that. But his legacy matters. Dansby's legacy does he continue what he's built and be the franchise player in Atlanta that followed the footsteps of Chipper Jones that Freddie Freeman didn't follow, or do you go and create a different legacy, potentially a different legacy in Chicago? So that's a question he's got to answer. And that legacy may not be the same. I mean, that's the thing about it, too. It may not go in the same direction in Chicago that it was heading for in Atlanta. And that's something that's Freddie Freeman is living that right now, that if he stayed in Atlanta, the legacy was the Chipper Jones level. But he's in L.A., it's going in a different path now. So I think Dansby is an option for Chicago? Yes, I think he's an option. Do I think they go in a different direction? I do think Xander Bogaerts makes more sense for Chicago, just for the offensive purposes of what he is. He's a better offensive hitter than Dansby is in his career. I mean, throughout his career, Bogaerts has been a better hitter. Dansby's been getting better, but I think Chicago needs a little bit more on the offensive side. I know Xander is not the defensive shortstop that Dansby is, but offensively, he does bring something that Chicago needs. They need some run support for their pitching staff to continue to develop and grow. So I would say Bogaerts would be a better fit, but I could see them making a run at Dansby just because I think he's right after Correa, the next elite shortstop, and he's also a cheaper option than Correa. He'll be right around what Bogarts is going to get offered as well. So you're cost-wise, Bogarts and Dansby makes sense for Chicago, but I think Bogarts makes more sense offensively.
Hey, you like that answer, Nick? Is that okay?
Yeah, one of them's coming to Chicago. I don't care which one. Just somebody.
So let's talk about
this. I'm on that island, baby. We need some help.
I'm with you, dude. Let's talk about that 40-year-old here getting 2 year, $86 million with the New York Mets. How's a Braves fan feel about that?
He's 40, right?
He's 40.
Father Time's undefeated, right? And we
we keep saying that about Brady, but
hey, Father Time is hitting Tom Brady because they only got.
I don't know. Yeah, that's
about 4 minutes to go tonight.
I think it's more of a Bucks issue, coaching issue, but yeah,
it's a Tom Brady issue too. If you watch him play, it's not the same time. He looks like old Tom Brady. The old Tom Brady.
Father Time comes out and catches you and everyone. We've seen it happen to everyone, and Tom Brady's no exception. Verlander, I don't know if we saw Father Time catch him in the playoffs. He was not the same pitcher in the playoffs.
He wasn't.
That we've
but
seen.
He's never good in the playoffs.
But okay, so then why do I need to be worried?
Right, you're seeding, right? Isn't that what you'll be worried about? Wild card versus that.
Didn't we face Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer with the Mets, and we still won the division?
That's true. I
mean, so a younger pitcher who's better, and at this point of his career, deGrom is better than Verlander. Verlander is still amazing. I'm not going to say anything negative about Verlander.
No,
he's still an amazing pitcher, but deGrom is better at this point of his career, and we still were able to catch them and win the division, in the East. So,
if I'm the Mets, I'm concerned having those two older guys at the top of my rotation. I mean, they're absolute studs, but this isn't 2018. This is 2002 going to 2023. You know what I mean?
This is not Detroit Tigers, Verlander and Scherzer. This is older guys. Scherzer's had some arm issues and oblique issues. Verlander's had some arm issues in the last couple of years. I mean,
had the Tommy John just 2 years ago.
At some point, that body's going to get caught up to everything that he's been putting himself through, and I think the World Series was a glimpse. Do I think he's still do I still think he'll be one of the better pitchers in 2023? Yes, absolutely. Is he going to be the elite pitcher that we've seen him be the last few years? That he's been healthy for. I don't think so. I don't think he's a true difference maker in the NL East division race between the Braves and Mets. I don't think that's going to be the case. And so when you have look at the rotations you have with the Mets, you have a older Scherzer's 37, I think 37, 38.
Scherzer, 30. I'll tell you. I got it up here. I'm pretty sure it's 38. Max Scherzer. I thought it said this age. There we go. He is 1984. So what is that? That's
38. Yeah.
38. Yeah.
He'll be 39 in 2023. So 39-year-old 2023 Max Scherzer, 40-year-old Justin Verlander, while the Braves have 28-year-old Max Fried, 23-year-old Kyle Wright, 22-year-old or 23-year-old Spencer Strider, young pitchers that are just getting to the cusp of their prime. They're not even touching their prime still. They're just getting to the part of their prime. That's the difference, and I feel like that's a key difference maker in the pitching staffs and how they're being built. Where the pitching staff for the Braves can handle a season, and be able to go and compete at a high level. We don't know how long Scherzer and Verlander can last for a season in that aspect. We didn't see it. We saw Scherzer have IL stints and struggle at times, especially against the Braves at the back end of the season. He was struggling at times. So I'm not necessarily worried as a Braves fan. I think this is something that it was a panic move that the Mets did by offering Verlander $40 million a year.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
absolutely was. Hey, we got to get somebody, so we offer $40 million to Justin Verlander for the next 2 years to come pitch for us at 40 and 41 years old.
We just lost deGrom, right? Like, so they feel like they're panicking to try.
They got to replace. They got to replace.
They probably overpaid for a 40-year-old pitcher.
I mean,
kudos to Verlander, though.
You mean you couldn't if you're the Mets, you couldn't go get Carlos Rodon for cheap?
Yeah, right.
You couldn't.
That's
you
what
couldn't-
I'm wearing in. I
you
was like,
couldn't
isn't
go
there
down
other
for-
players out there?
But
You know?
you got to think it's New York Mets and New York market, right? Is Carlos Rodon or Verlander? Who's more of the back page, material?
Well, if you're
Verlander.
gonna spend 86, like, wouldn't you want to go out and get a guy
No,
that you can keep for another 4 or 5 years?
And I agree with what you just said, Nick, that does matter still in New York, even for the Mets. I mean, we talked about this at times throughout the year and I've talked this with other shows, that they want headlines in New York. They don't
Exactly,
care.
especially the Mets trying to
don't-
catch up with the Yankees.
What the baseball smart move is, it's not the first thought. It's what grabs the headlines. Well, guess what was been on ESPN all freaking day is Justin Verlander signing with the Mets. Carlos Rodon wouldn't have done that. That would have been
Exactly. It would have been on the bottom line of the ticker. You know what I mean?
That would have been the smart baseball move, is bringing in Carlos Rodon and have him be the number 2 pitcher behind Scherzer, or potentially at some point maybe the number 1 that you have. But that's not going to grab the headlines in New York. That's not going to get the fan base excited. Justin Verlander, even at 40 years old, has some Mets fans. Because I've seen some on the pages that are like, oh my God, we went from DeGrom at 30 years old to Verlander at 40 years old. What are we doing? So there's I'll credit some smart New York Mets fans that are out there, but that's not how they think in New York. It's what grabs the headlines. How do we get talked about, especially in the offseason right now where football is king? We got to get something going where people can talk about us in New York, and that's what the Mets and Yankees do, and that's what the Mets did with the Verlander signing.
That's fair. That's fair take right there. I didn't think about the headlines part for New York and trying to take attention away from the other 2 teams in there. So didn't think about that at all. How about your buddy there, Clayton Kershaw, getting a little deal too, a little extension, some nice money.
Yeah, I'm happy for that. I mean, I think there was a lot of people, especially a lot of the other guys I've talked to out here, they were expecting him to come to Texas, come home. But
see, I expected him to make a move too. I didn't think he'd actually stay, even though it was for the 20 or whatever it was. But I expected him to go to a Rangers or possibly even somewhere on the East Coast this time.
I think it was either going to be the Dodgers or Rangers. Just come
Yeah,
home.
I'm with you.
Come home back to Dallas. He's from he's from the area that's about 15, 20 minutes from Arlington. I thought that was something that was going to be a thought process for him. But you know what? He's one of those that, as we said about legacies, he's creating a legacy in LA that now his career can be matched as a whole to Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
Completely. Oral Hershiser is another one that he's going to be compared to. Yeah. But he's always been compared to Koufax throughout his career. He's going to finish his career in LA, and he'll be up there with Koufax as one of the best pitchers in Dodgers history. So I'm happy. I'm happy for that. I'm happy for him. I said I know a lot of people out here in Texas were hoping he'd come home, but again, creating the legacy that you're now forever tied to Sandy Koufax in LA. That's a huge honor that I know he's relishing right now.
Nick, any final baseball questions?
No, I think that was it. I wanted to, that was it. Yeah, was it. Where do you think Judge goes and how much? I guess, he's still the big market, is he going to be like the first domino? We've kind of seen some of the pitching dominoes fall. Is he going to be the first, I guess Trey Turner today, but is he going to be like the next big domino to fall before everybody else, or, one of these other big shortstops?
So I saw there was a rumor, or not necessarily a rumor, there was a report that Boston is interested in Aaron Judge.
Saw that too, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine the absolute pure hatred?
Oh my, that's Johnny Damon level. This is past Johnny Damon level.
Boston? I think this was.
I don't know. Johnny Damon to me was the ultimate, because he was the ultimate anti-Yankee going prior, right? He had the long beard, the long hair, the caveman look.
The long hair, yeah. He went from the Royals to the
This would be Ortiz or Manny Ramirez going to the Yankees. Kind of hatred for that.
That much?
Absolutely. If Aaron Judge goes to Boston, Aaron Judge would never be welcomed in New York ever again. I think that would absolutely just completely flip the script on Judge's legacy in New York. they would absolutely forget about him in a heartbeat. I think you'll see jerseys in flames in New York in the Bronx of that offense. I think.
So
I don't
that'll
think,
literally be like a whole fan base against saying, "Oh, well, never mind. You aren't the true home run king anymore because you're in Boston."
Right.
They will absolutely try to figure. They will do everything they can to remove him as the Yankees home run leader in a season and say, "Oh no, it's Roger Maris. It's Roger Maris again." I
come out. The roids come out somewhere, or something comes out because of all that move.
I don't think Boston is going to be the team. I do think I've been saying this for a while. I think San Francisco is the team to beat to get him. I think they want him so bad. And again, they're having, they invited him out to the Bay Area a couple weeks ago. They had Steph Curry do some recruiting for him as well. So I think the lean is going to be to the Giants, and I think they have the money. They have the money to match and even offer more. I believe they do than what the Yankees are offering. I had a buddy of mine. We talked about this the other day, and the Yankees, we saw that it was like a 337 for 8 years. I think he's going to land something around the 375. I think it's going to be around 375 for 8 or 9 years. And I think that I saw, it was 9 years is what they're targeting, is what the Judge is wanting, is a 9-year contract. So a 375, $380 million contract for 9 years, I think is what it's going to be targeting. I think the Giants have that money to be able to do it. And I think that's going to be a little bit rich than what the Yankees want to offer. And that's, again, shocking to actually say that about the Yankees. But this is not – if this was George Steinbrenner who was alive and still the owner, he'd stay. It would have already been done. He'd be in the Yankee uniform still, and we'd never have this conversation anymore.
Correct.
But with the Suns, with Hal and Hank, and their budget, they're really budget stingy. I see that the 337, 340 is probably the limit they're going to go to for Judge, and he'll walk. And I think that he'll probably be a $375 million contract for 9 years going to the Giants.
I fully believe that too.
I had one more question. I thought about it earlier and I forgot it, and now I remember. So bigger disappointment, the Mets rotation of DeGrom, Thor, and then Steven Matz, or the A's rotation of Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, and Mark Mulder, because all three of those guys had great promise, thought they were all going to, Mets at least made it to a World Series. The A's just never could get there. Which rotation did you like the most, and which rotation is kind of the bigger disappointment?
Well, you didn't even mention another one. It was Harvey, Thor, DeGrom, Matz.
Matt Harvey. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the Dark Knight.
Zach Wheeler too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 5, top line type of guys.
Yeah.
So if you look at as far as in the teams they played for, I mean, talent wise, I mean, again, you just named five guys that I know Harvey didn't last as long. Same thing with Syndergaard. Syndergaard didn't really last as long after the injuries that he sustained. It was really DeGrom. Wheeler, all of a sudden, figured it out and found it in Philadelphia. Matz has he's been doing pretty well. So the disappointment, I would say, would go to those pitchers in the Mets, just because of the potential they had that they never fulfilled. The pitchers that the Oakland A's had of Mulder, Hudson, and Zito, their careers absolutely took off even beyond.
Yeah, Hudson had great years in Atlanta. Mulder with the Braves and Zito with the Giants. Yeah.
Well, Mulder went to St. Louis, I think, at one point. Right?
He did.
Zito did in his career with the A's, and after that, and then also with the Giants as well. So career-wise, I mean, you look at it and what those three guys did, even beyond Oakland. It was unfortunate they couldn't keep those guys and really compete, develop, and build a rotation like the Braves had in the 90s. Because I think that was the comparison. What those three guys, it was a 90s-like version of Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. What they had in Mulder, Zito, and Hudson. Obviously, Oakland just can't afford to keep guys, that go beyond their means. So they end up having great careers later on. So the disappointment, obviously, is the Mets rotation, because they didn't. The two of the pitchers flamed out completely.
Yeah,
and I say Syndergaard. I put Syndergaard as a bust after his injuries that he sustained and what he couldn't do in LA with the Angels and what he couldn't really do in Philadelphia. But you have guys like Zach Wheeler, who's putting on a resurgence in his career. DeGrom has been the best pitcher in baseball, but he's been hurt at too many times himself as well. And then Matz is doing what he's been doing. So disappointment. I'd lean to the Mets. Best potential, best as far as those two comparison. It's the A's pitchers of what they had on Zito, Mulder, and Hudson.
Yeah, I'd say the Mets were probably the biggest disappointment, just because I don't think at the time that I can recall that there was high expectations for that A's team on offense. So like the pitching was great, but I don't think
Giambi was there for a little bit.
Jason and Jeremy, right? Were
both of them, yeah. Jeremy and I was there.
It was like outside of that, there wasn't high expectations for the A's team, but versus the Mets, where there was some expectations that should have gone through. So for me, the Mets are probably the biggest disappointment just because of what they had there. But as far as your best combo, A's, those A's guys got it easy.
Oh, the Mets teams never really competed too. Even with those guys, they never really were a competitor in the division.
Never did.
During that time, it was the Phillies that were really dominating because that was when the Braves were kind of down at one point when those five were really going and healthy. The Phillies were the teams that beat in that division. The Braves were down, and so you have your nemesis in the Atlanta Braves not being a competitor. You couldn't capitalize and take it up from the Phillies at that time. So, the disappointment was easily it'd be the Mets on that and what they had and the potential they had. They just never fulfilled.
The Mets at least made this. They made a World Series. They beat the Cubs in 15.
They made the World Series too.
Yeah.
Remember that? We got him. Hey,
Tom Brady still got a shot. Tom Brady's got a shot here with a minute and a half.
I'm watching this Monday night game right now, and I'm in a way like I don't care about either team, but I'm kind of ticked off because I'm like, you just had a 16-3 lead. You let Tom Brady go down and score. And then you can't execute on 4 downs because Taysom Hill dropped the ball, and now that's a bad pass. He's down.
So what's the score here? So what's the score right now?
So it's 16-10,
3rd and 6 with under a minute to go. They're in. Bucks are driving. They're about just outside the red zone. About the 30.
Like legit. This is like a classic Tom Brady freaking game where he just like. Comes back. Oh, wait, we got to win real quick. And then he throws a game-winning touchdown. Let's see. No, that was a bad pass.
56 seconds to go. 3rd and 6. Here we go. Brady, shotgun.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Oh, he throws it. First down, Tampa Bay.
It's ridiculous.
In the red zone.
This is ridiculous.
50 seconds to go.
Like, we could talk about how bad we want this Bucs team, but if it's within 20 yet, like – does it matter yet until the clock strikes 0?
I mean, look, and I said I'll be honest about my Saints. Do I want them to win games? Absolutely. Am I for a rebuild for the Saints? Absolutely. I'm ready. I'd actually would.
You've said it before.
You've said it before.
Fire. If it was me making decision making, again, it sucks because we don't have a 1st round pick right now. We traded it to Philadelphia, but
Bucks are 1st and goal here. 1st and goal. 17 seconds to go.
And I honestly, I think, and I said this earlier on another show, if they lose this game, I think changes have to happen because your culture the culture you kept together isn't working anymore because the voice who built that culture for 16 years is not in the building anymore. So at some point you have to change to rediscover what the culture in New Orleans is supposed to be. And so if they lose this game against the Bucs, I think changes have to start being talked about.
So, Jonathan, earlier in this game, I think it was early in the 4th quarter here, I think Dennis Allen and Cam Jordan had some words. Didn't look good. So, like, the fact that you have your star player upset about stuff going on, yeah, I think something needs to be done, which you and I have already talked about this. Like, I'm going to agree with you. Like, you got to do something new. Like, yeah, sure, it's cool having the first.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
No way. You kidding me?
Yeah, touchdown. There's a flag. There's a flag. Holding on the Bucs. 16 seconds to go. That'll take him back 10 yards. It was a touchdown. Now we got to do it all over again. 16 seconds.
Godwin, too? Are you
kidding
me? I needed that touchdown for bets money.
I'm glad it didn't. I'm going against Godwin in my fantasy. Am I still winning?
I need a touchdown from him.
I had Lenny going tonight and I had a good sized lead, so I should have won. Oh yeah, I should definitely win here.
This is ridiculous. The fact that the Bucs are back in this game so within under 3 minutes.
12 seconds to go. 2nd and goal. Here we go.
Oh yeah, that was a big hole, dude. What do you got? You're like play ahead of me.
2nd and goal here. 12 seconds. Brady back.
Trying
Throws it. Godwin out of bounds. 8 seconds to go. 3rd and goal.
Where's the ball? What yard line?
Looks about 5 now, maybe after that play.
He's gonna run it in. Tom Brady's gonna go all Mahomes on it.
It'll take all 8 seconds for him to get to 5 yards.
Right.
Right.
They still got a timeout left too.
Yeah, still got both teams got Saints got 2 timeouts, Bucs got a timeout. 3rd and goal, here we go. The Saints somebody just called timeout.
Okay, Saints got time. So hey, let's talk real quick here during the timeout. Last time we talked, your Tigers were in a playoff contention. Since then, a couple of disappointing things have happened, may I say, to this team. Now 9-4, 17, going to go play Purdue on January 2nd in the Bowl. I don't know. What's your thoughts, dude? What since the last couple of weeks since we talked?
You saw in the A&M game, I was very disappointed because again that was the game for you to win. I mean everything was lined up for you to do what you needed to do. But at the same time, you're a team that has a lot of holes.
Oh, touchdown!
Godwin?
No, I don't think it was a Godwin touchdown. I can't know who it was. Touchdown to Rashad White. Touchdown, 16-16. 3 seconds left. All they got to do is kick the extra point for the win.
Sorry, Jonathan.
That's all right. Well, I said you saw a lot what the issues this roster has as far as depth-wise. They're running a 5-man front all season. At some point, that's going to get caught up to you, especially in the SEC, where the defense, the line of scrimmage is key in that league that you have to be able to compete in. And so the disappointment I had was the A&M game. I was not disappointed in what I saw in the Georgia game. I was actually very encouraged. I was very happy to see that group actually they battled. I mean, you take away
they did battle. They really did.
You take 3 plays away out of that game. Would be the field goal that was blocked and ran back. That's 7 points. Interception off the helmet. It turns another 7 points. It's a different ball game at that point. So. I mean, that's 14 points. You're talking about a what was it, 30 points? So it was 36-30 type of game, a 37-30 type of ball game. If that you take those plays away, that absolutely destroyed the Tigers in the game against Georgia. But I mean, you see a future with this group, and then even more so today, we found out Kayshon Boutte, the number 1 receiver, he's returning to school in his senior year. So the foundation of what that group has done, what Brian Kelly has done. And taking a team that only has still only 65 or 67 scholarship players to what Georgia plays with has 80 scholarship players. And the depth of it is just unbelievable what that team has. And you make it to an SEC championship game. You compete. I mean, yeah, look, the outsiders, the national media say, well, hey, Georgia blew out the LSU Tigers. I mean, yeah, they were supposed to. We weren't supposed to be there, and we were. And so that's a huge stepping in the right direction that I looked at. Like I said, the disappointment in the A&M game, it's there. You got 18, 19, 20-year-olds looking ahead to the Georgia game, and that's what it looked like in my book. But the fact of what they did in the SEC championship game is they competed and battled when they were undermanned and under-talented. I mean, you're talking about a bright future that's being built in Baton Rouge right now. So,
yeah, That's a team built to compete for the next few years for sure.
And you allow him now with the recruiting staff he has. He's got some of the best recruiters in the country on staff with the coaches that he has. You tell him that we got to go get guys that's going to get our defensive line back. Oh, by the way, your All-American D tackle Mason Smith's going to come back next year, which that's a big loss that we didn't have him after Florida State game. Throw him back in that line. Get some guys that are ready to play now in the transfer portal, plus the young guys that you got that are building. You have a freshman that didn't even play this year, who the coaches think he's going to be the best pass rusher next season on the team. With B.J. Ojulari, who's if he comes back, he'll be a first-round pick. He's potential a first or second-round pick this year. You got some talent that's coming in on that team that's young. And with an incoming class that's coming in potentially with their top 5 recruiting class, potentially thrown in with some transfer portal guys, you're giving Brian Kelly an opportunity to build a dynasty in the making in the SEC, and that's scary to think because again, the laughing stock of college football. Brian Kelly's been. He's laughing at everybody right now. What he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys were expected to do a bunch of nothing this year, and now, especially after the first game, right? The expectations even lowered going to play. Now they had potential to compete for a playoff spot, let alone late in the season. Granted, they had a couple bad losses before all the championship game happened, but to be in this position can only be an upside for this LSU team going forward, and the upside of Brian Kelly's expectation going forward, which I think is probably bigger than just getting talent. It's probably bigger that, hey, there's some confidence here. There's some trust. Now we're going to see things go.
Oh, absolutely. And look at the landscape of the SEC, where even as lately, 3 or 4 players from Alabama have already announced they're going to the transfer portal. Players from Ole Miss enter the transfer portal. Players from Mississippi State enter the transfer. Half of A&M's top number 1 recruiting classes entered the transfer portal. So that hasn't happened yet in the LSU. I know there's going to be some guys that will leave just because they know the writing's on the wall that their future's not going to be there. But what we hadn't had in Baton Rouge the last 2 years with Ed Orgeron was roster continuity. You've not been able to, you've lost 35, 40 players from transfer portal or NFL draft over the last 2 years. Yeah. And you've got your number 1 receiver, Kayshon Boutte, who says that he's coming back for his senior year. That's step 1.
What a turnaround, by the way, from Boutte. Yeah. Because, from Florida State game, he was ready to just call it quits and get the hell out the door. Now he's coming back for another year.
Again, as he put in his Instagram post, he's got things he's got to prove. And that's mature. That's maturity. That. That's absolutely maturity, where you sit there and say, if you can go and be a captain now for the team in 2023, you can go be an offensive captain for LSU after what you went through with the questions about you for the last 2 years, and you've worked your butt off, and you can go be a captain for the offense, and then you work your way back to a first-round pick. You'll be the first receiver taken in the draft in 2024. I mean, that's absolutely that is maturity, and that's what Brian Kelly is. He's been that way his whole career as a coach. He brings young men to and teaches them more than just football. He teaches them how to be men. And so it's just the sheer fact that he was doing that at Notre Dame. Nobody laughed at him at what he was doing there, but because he left and went to Baton Rouge, and he's said family. I mean,
picked up an accent real quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so he becomes a laughingstock, and everybody forgets how good of a coach he is. And I've had arguments with people saying, "Well, he's not a good guy." Says who? People who don't know
players seem to like him.
The players love him. It took time for them to understand what he was about. It takes time for players to buy a culture. I mean, I'm not at the level of coaching college sports, but I have to deal with that as a coach coaching high school kids. The people outside of my program that I coach absolutely hate me. People inside my program,
see that.
Yeah. They love me what I'm doing. So I mean. But I mean, so that's the thing about it. The outsiders, they want to hate Brian Kelly for what for leaving Notre Dame, because it was Notre Dame and the historical prestige of that program to come to Baton Rouge. Nobody ever would have thought that'd be the case. So you want to hate Brian Kelly, but again, you have to respect Brian Kelly for what he's done over this year alone. Again, the team that was predicted to win 5 games, miss a bowl game, and you beat Alabama, you beat Ole Miss, you beat Florida, you go play in the SEC championship game. I mean, you can't hate the guy for the job that he's done. You have to respect him, and I think this is a year that he's shown that. And with the landscape of the SEC and how it's kind of turning about right now, you're looking at a potential change of the winds of the SEC West, that LSU can be back as a powerhouse, not only in the SEC West but in the SEC, and you could see a rematch next year, LSU Georgia in the SEC championship.
Yeah, I'm fair with that here because I feel the same way about KU. Just having that established coach, having the players believe in that coach, it's just tremendous. It's like a huge difference maker going into play. So let's before we wrap it up here, I do want to get your takes here. So we got off-season workouts starting at your facility, or I guess your program. But you what's this whole like? I had to go meet for a potential comeback. What is this? What's this going on, man?
I'm helping out the guy that I partnered with. I'm helping out with him train some minor leaguers that are getting themselves ready for next season, and I'm working out with them a little bit, helping them, at least helping on the mentor side of it. But I'm hitting the weights with those guys, and I'm hanging. I'm the old guys hanging around with these 20-year-olds,
Hey.
20-year-olds. So it's made me feel like maybe my body's not as broken as I thought it was. Maybe I can do a little something. I don't know. It's something that I've said to people, and I've said to you guys even before. The thought never has left my mind that I can go and play, at a high level again. It's just will my body last? That's always been my issue with it. But the workouts I'm doing and the training I'm doing with those guys and helping them, it does spark that fire a little bit to say maybe I could do one more run. I don't know. I'm enjoying retirement, but again, I've always felt like I had
just a little bit left, right? Just that little bit left.
Well, it was never my decision. That was the part. I couldn't pass a physical, and so the decision was basically made for me that my body just couldn't take. So, I was at peace. I was at peace with it, but I still had that what if? What if I had one more try? What if I had one more go at it? So, I don't know. I haven't swung a bat to see if I could do that again. I played in the game early. I played in a little amateur game this summer. And played good defense. I know I think I can go play defense for a team, but it's gonna take me some time to get my swing back and timing back. But I don't know. I'm working out with those guys 3 times a week and just kind of seeing things how it goes. Maybe I go pick up one of my bats out of the closet and go swing it a little bit and see how it feels how my back feels on doing that. That's one thing I don't know about is how my back would hold up swinging a bat as much as I on that side, but.
That's the thing. It's like you don't want to delay what your progress already is because you're already doing workouts to try to get back into that shape, that mentality that you were as close as you can be, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're never going to be the same with the back stuff, but I understand the delay to go swing a bat because what if something happened? Like what if I swing the wrong way and nothing good happens right out of it? So I understand that. I still think
it's time to dust it off, man. Dust off the bat. Get back.
I think it's worth a couple, dude.
Man, it's a thought. I talked to my mom about it. It's actually funny. I talked to my mom about it. She goes, "Why don't you stop doing that and just go play golf and go join the PGA or something?" And that's a thought. And that's actually another thought. Maybe because I've gotten into golf again. I played competitive golf when I was younger. Actually, I was in a junior PGA for 3 years. So, and my family to this day says I played the wrong sport. That I should have gone and played golf and everything. But I don't know. I mean,
join the LIV, dude.
Hey, that's guaranteed money. Why not do that? I guess.
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, it's something I'm thinking. I'm thinking if I'm seeing how my body continues to handle the workouts that I'm doing with those guys, and there might be an itch to, like I said, get the bat out of the bag and go swing a little bit and see how it feels to just hit a ball again. And I swing with with my kids that I coach. I'll go do demonstration of drills and take about 5 or 6 swings here and there. But it's not the same thing because I know I limit to 50, 40, 40, 50% at times. I've never swung 100% when I do that with them. So I don't know how it would feel at 100%. But there's an itch. There's an itch of doing it that maybe one more go. Just because, like I said, I've done the workouts with those guys, and I've held my own. That's the other part is those guys are 10 years younger than me, and I'm holding up with them. So maybe I don't know yet. I'm everybody laughs at me when I kind of talked about that, and some of the kids that I coached, I brought that up to them. That maybe you might see me do a workout with a team, and they all laugh at me. Goes, "You're old. You can't do that." So I don't know.
It's like, hang on now. I
gotta. That's when I do go full speed a little bit and say, "Hey, I'm gonna show y'all. I can still do this. Y'all are learning from me for a reason. I can still do this as I go."
Exactly. That's how when I did my high school, when I was coaching my high school rec team, they all made fun of me because I was to them I felt way older, right? I was only like 28, dude. I wasn't that old, but they they thought I couldn't do stuff, and I'm like, man, look. I might be a little bigger than I was. I might be a little older than I was, but I still got you guys overbound here. So no, I love it, dude. I love hearing it. Love seeing the workouts. How is off-season workouts? The girls going good?
Oh, it's going good. We had a practice tonight. We had a infield practice day, so we kind of break things down with our winter stuff as far as practices, infield day, outfield day, batting, pitching, and catching. So kind of we're not killing these kids. They played a lot of games. We had girls that played over 70 games this year. We had a couple of girls that played over 100 games this year. So we try to slow things down. We have the workouts to really help with the athleticism and strength and speed, but our practices are more a slower pace, fine-tuning mechanics and really educating them on how to be able to move a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently, and really see themselves elevate their skills from there. So we're in that mode right now. We had a good turnout with 3 hours of practices from our 10 and our youngest team, from our 10U team all the way up to our 18U team, and then we had about close to 40 girls show up, which is awesome, which is amazing.
Wow.
We have
that's great turnout.
We're over 60 girls in the organization total, and we had about 40 show up today for practices, with a few girls who are playing other sports right now, and we're athletes. We want them to be athletes. I want them to go and play other sports and go be an athlete. So we had some that played basketball. We have some girls we have actually a couple of girls that do wrestling too. Kid you not about
awesome.
that. So
that's awesome.
But we get about 40 girls showed up today from all of our ages, from 10U up to 18U, and we just got to work. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy this time of the year. I'm exhausted every day, but I had about 5 kids actually come and do tryouts today with us as well. So we're in the process of continuing to grow. And I tell them, I tell the kids, and the parents, I want to be exhausted when practice is over, because that means I'm doing my job. It means your parents are paying me to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'm not exhausted at the end of practice, I'm not earning it. So I'm not earning what I'm supposed to be doing for my job. So I'm exhausted right now. I'm tired, but I love what I do, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. We're back in the gym tomorrow, working those girls out, and some of the boys that we had baseball kids come and try out today too. So we're getting the baseball program going up and running as well, and hopefully getting them caught up to what the softball side has.
Love it. I love hearing all of that, man. So Jonathan, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna end the show here shortly. So appreciate you joining in. We'll try to talk here hopefully next week here going to play.
Definitely, guys. Miss you guys. Miss talking to y'all and everything, man. I've always enjoyed this.
Same here, man.
Nice see you, Jonathan.
Absolutely, guys.
Thanks, man.
See y'all.
Jonathan Grishman, everybody. So miss you guys. Always love talking to him. So Nick, man, anything? So I haven't talked to you a little bit. So I actually did win a UFC bet I placed over a month ago, because it was
nice.
A positive EV bet. It was Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, Wonder Boy. Yeah, huge fight. Huge win Saturday. Hell of a fight.
Was it? I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I was trying to, because it was the one bet in my Caesars account that just sat there for over a month, because it was like plus 150 at the time then, and so I placed it, threw 5 on it because that's what it told me to do, and just been waiting, and so it finally happened, and he won.
It was fight of the. Some people call it fight of the year. It's right up there in the top 5 fights of the year for sure. Him and Kevin Holland put on a hell of a fight Saturday. Got stopped in the 4th round. Wonder Boy wins TKO in the 4th round. Both men broke their hand. It was one of them fights where both guys kind of went in. You knew that they weren't going to go to the ground. It was going to be just a stand-up, straight, 2 strikers, high-level strikers striking. And, both guys, tough as nails, took some huge shots. It was an incredible night. Wonder Boy, kind of like you said, it was the underdog in that fight.
Yes.
And he is 40 years old and beat Kevin Holland.
40 year old?
Yes. Yeah, he's no Wonder Boy. He's a Wonder Man.
Amazing. I had to tell you about that bet because it's been sitting there forever. So
you're lucky to ask me because I would have told you to put your money on Kevin Holland, but I
actually almost sent you a bet on Saturday because I did have a boost for UFC parlay. I was going to ask you for like 4 guys. Just say, hey, give me 4 guys. So in a way, I guess I'm glad I didn't ask.
Yeah. I'm cold right now.
Maybe next Saturday we'll get stuff going again.
Hey, so. UFC 283, I think, is this Saturday. So
this Saturday, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll probably send you a text here, and we'll get some picks out. So
always,
because UFC is the one thing I don't have anything for. So I'll be sending you a text. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here for the night. Here, obviously, we just saw the Bucks come back and
win. We were giving them the death win.
And we were already talking to them dead.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, guess they do want to win it.
Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does. Coming into play.
Vintage Tom.
Thanks to Jim Behringer. Thanks to Jonathan Grishman for joining us like they do every Monday. Always appreciate their insights, their thoughts, and the discussions coming into play. Guys, we'll be back. I'll be back Wednesday night. Nick will be back Wednesday night or Wednesday morning and Wednesday night, right?
Wednesday night, Thursday morning. We had to move the weekly show. Morning. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so Wednesday night, Thursday morning. You guys can catch us also on the Sunday game day show before all the NFL games right here in Let's Talk Sports. I should be back this Sunday. I don't think I got any dance recitals, so I think I'm all right. So we'll be back there, guys, going into play. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow. Make sure you comment below a chance to enter that giveaway about Dan at Let's Talk Sports. Chance to win your jersey, chance to win the Let's Talk Sports shirt and mug, and $100. And as right here, right to the right of me here, this is Underdog Fantasy, guys. Make sure you use promo code LTS, Larry Tom Sam, to get up to $100 matching your first deposit. It's a great app. I have fun with it. You can pick over unders. You can pick do a best ball kind of draft against like 3 people, 4 people, whatever. It's a lot different than FanDuel stuff. So that's kind of why I like it, just because it is so different. And I actually have great success on it. So it's also great for best ball. So make sure you guys do that. Sign up there, laptop or phone app. Other than that, guys, have a great week. We hope to talk to you next Monday. We'll catch you guys later.
See y'all.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Buffoons and Bodkins show. Make sure you hit that bell, subscribe, and follow for more content. Swing over to the Bodkins show, subscribe and follow for him. And then also swing over to Let's Talk Sports Network and go subscribe to him because it's phenomenal for what he does. And there's a lot more to come on that channel between us as well. So